So, indeed you do, ladies and gentlemen, we do have mouzMaNa going to be spawning here as the green Protoss down to the bottom left-hand corner. Do I have music turned on? There we go, there's music enabled. And over to the bottom right-hand corner, we do have M.Stephano, a very, very strong Zerg indeed. A little bit of controversy going on here and there about him recently, but ultimately he is an amazing, amazing player. Someone that you really don't want to meet in a dark alley at night, as he can certainly tear you a new hole. M.Stephano, in my opinion, one of the highest rising Zergs to come out of EU recently. A player that, if I personally believe, if he were to go to Korea, he would be an absolute tip-top player. I don't think there's anything more he can learn in Europe. So, indeed, mouzMaNa is going to have his work cut out for him. And as I said before, mouzMaNa, the Polish superstar, an absolutely amazing Protoss. He is able to pull out amazing wins from thin air. So we will have to see what he's doing. Looks like we will be seeing a little bit of Forge Fast Expand going down very, very soon, which is always very nice to go for on Tal'darim Altar. There always is those little susceptible things to go for, like, I don't know, 6-pool coming out and whatever and ruining your day. And even on Tal'darim Altar, a 6-pool isn't really an all-in due to the architecture of the map, rush distances and so on. So that is something that always could come into play. We'll have to see. Not obviously actually coming into play. What the hell am I on about? As the pull has been thrown down at a pretty standard time here. Obviously not going to be going for a hatchery first due to the fact that you can get that cannon down very, very quickly as a Zerg player in these positions due to the fact that that forge does go down very, very early for the Protoss. So what else is happening? F yeah, Kyle Ares. He was watching Fuse's stream today. Yes, I was. Fuser, man, he is a baller indeed. But let's see what is going on. So mouzMaNa will be scouting around here. Notice how Mana sent out 2 probes to do the scouting. Here's the second one, and here's the second one, and the first one went up to the top. That is because you want to see if your Zerg opponent is going for that hatchery first. You also want to know very, very early on what is going on in his base in these situations. So it's always nice to send out that second probe, see if you can get anything going. So it doesn't look like Mana is going to be able to do anything right now in this base. But he's got the information he needs. He knows this next timing of the spawning pool, knows the gas is being mined, and knows when that hatchery is going down as well. So in turn, he has gone for a Nexus before Gateway and Photon Cannon. Obviously, you can get that Nexus out in order to be able to you can get that Nexus out if you see the spawning pool timing, see no Zerglings are coming before that Gateway, which is always very nice to spot, and that is another great reason as to why he sent out those 2 probes. So now we do have a few Zerglings here, going to be chasing this little droney drone away. Probey probe. And it's always nice here in these situations, if you want to deny these Zerglings from actually getting in, you can throw down a second gateway, even if this cannon is just warping in here, there and everywhere. So, you know, ultimately, you throw down a second gateway, you cancel that gateway, and then you can have that nice wall in. Always very, very good to see. And you do see a lot of players go for that. And in fact, today, we saw Killer, unfortunately, well, I'm not going to do any spoilers for you, but in Game 1, he did let some Zerglings into that wall on Belshire Beach, which wasn't the best thing. So, you should go and watch GSL Code S if you haven't already. Pretty darn good, but not yet. Do stick around here and watch some of this, as it's always fun stuff to watch. So we do have that first Zealot being chrono boosted out, and there's actually a really interesting little timing you can do as Protoss with these initial Zealots. Ultimately, let's see if he can actually see. He can see that being chrono boosted out there with that Overlord, but there's a lot of Zerg players nowadays don't really expect kind of like 3 chrono boosted Zealots out in these positions. They assume, oh well, he's expanding behind this, he's going to be just kind of defensing up, turtling up on these 2 bases for a while. But pushing out with 3 Zealots can be surprisingly effective. So if you're at the lower levels of play and you're going for those kind of Forge Fast Expands, just chrono boost out a few Zealots after you've got this Nexus up, got this Cybernetics core going, and poke around in your opponent's base. If not, you can get some good scouting information, maybe do some damage here, there, and everywhere. It all depends on what your opponent is up to. And look at this, so M.Stephano is going to be going for a very quick third, but not in this position. And ultimately, obviously, because of the rocks there, very, very hard to break that down in time to be able to get that quick third out in time. But now Mana is in a position where he could potentially kind of pressure that third. If he, say, was going for Stargates or something like that, it's very, very hard to be able to connect up these bases to the base up to the north with, say, Creep. So Queen reinforcement isn't going to come very soon. Queen reinforcement isn't going to be very quick, and you know, spore crawlers obviously take quite a bit of, you know, money to make and stuff like that. So it's those are the kinds of things you want to be looking out for, and you always want, as a Protoss in these positions, you always want a probe out on the field somewhere, like either throwing down proxy pylons in great positions, or just kind of scouting around, seeing if your opponent is taking that third very quickly. So we do have a few gateways now going down for mana, not too bad a transition at all. It's always nice to have those gateways out as a Protoss because, hey, you want to be able to make units, right? So we do have that observer out on the way now. Where is that going to go? Is it going to stay there, or is it going to be heading up to the north? But again, Mana in these positions, he knows the map. Mana, through his mind right now, he's assuming, okay, so I've taken a Forge Fast expand. M.Stephano is the kind of player that is going to want to take a quick third behind this. So with this observer, he's going to be looking potentially where these drones are going to. So let's see. He sees those drones moving. So now he knows that there is a base somewhere else. There's no reason 2 drones wouldn't be moving up to the north if there wasn't a base up here. So Mana now sees that. He is getting a Robo Bay behind this. So, oh, and a few more gateways as well. Where is that Robo Bay? It's somewhere. It is somewhere. There we go. So the Robo Bay is there. So he's going to be going for a pretty standard composition right now. Do you have Glial Reconstitution and +1 on the way for M.Stephano right now? So he does see a few spine crawlers going down here. But again, right now he doesn't see this, but from the information he's gathered, with those drones moving in the direction that they have done, you know, he can infer that there is a base somewhere. So this is where, as I said before, the Stargate play would really come into its own, and I personally really like Stargate play. It can be very... this game is from the MSI Cup, I believe. So I'm just, you know, recasting it and things like that, which is all cool. So at this point, we do have him breaking down these rocks here, trying to take a bit of a quick third. Not too bad a time at all, 9:50 minute mark. And as a Protoss, you always want to be able to take your third base before... You always want to be able to take your third base before, at least before the 13-minute mark. Anything after the 13-minute mark as a Protoss player is very late, and you don't want to be in that position at all. So look at this. Also, M.Stephano here is going to be taking this fourth, and you know, if you can, guys, tune into Stephano's stream. It is so fun to watch, especially ZVZ. His ZVZ is absolutely majestic. Just the way in which he controls Banelings and Zerglings is amazing. Pump-and-da, I can't say it properly, is the unofficial slogan of Mouse Sports. So look, Mana getting... actually moving into a little bit of a precarious position, but good force fields do rain down in order to be able to block off those roaches. Actually, those force fields were so good, he would have lost the majority of this army had he not thrown those force fields down in the right position. And now this observer does see everything going off right now. A lot of roaches actually coming out right now. Clearly, Pathogen Glands is on the way, Twilight Council as well. And as you can see, Mana right now is just doing everything he can to secure this third. Very important to secure this third right now, as his opponent is obviously going up to that fourth base. Mana doesn't exactly 100% know that right now. These Colossus will be able to provide a great linchpin behind this base in order to secure it against these roaches. But look at this meticulous creep spread we have going from Stephano right now. Great spine crawler positioning, kind of zoning out a small area of the map from Mana's control, and this base up here has already paid for itself, and meanwhile he's able to get this fourth base up very nicely as well. So now we do have more Colossus on the way, 8 Infestors on the way for M.Stephano, so if we don't see some kind of High Templar transition later on, those could be a little bit of a problem, although ultimately the Colossus will be able to deal with that quite nicely. We'll have to see. What else do we have going on? A Lone Ling will be scouting out these points. Always very nice to do as a Zergy player. You really don't want to be in a position where you know, a Protoss has hidden bases here, there, and everywhere. And we do have a Hive morphing in as well as a Spire. So Mr. M.Stephano here going to be going for every single tech, and not a bad idea. You know, as a Zerg, if you're in this position, if you're going into that kind of mid-game, like late-game transition, you want as many kind of tech structures out as possible, because if say your opponent for some reason switches over, you can be in a very good, you know, position to actually transition into the correct counter. So look at this, actually using those Colossus for the high ground vision. They're going to be warping in a few Zealots in order to be able to do a little bit of harassment. Do you have Neuroparasite morphing in here? I must say that this was before patch, only just like a few days before patch, so, but not to worry, as It should be an exciting game indeed. We're not even a third of the way through it, so... So we do have more proxy pylons going down here, there, and everywhere. M.Stephano trying to zone off small areas in order to be able to kind of just control bits and maybe expand up there later on. Always very nice to do. You have +2 on the way for both players right now. Blink as well. Very nice to get that blink out, just in case your opponent does go for some kind of corruptor tech in order to be able to try and counter those Colossus. Ultimately, you can kind of try and catch them out of position, blink in, take out as few as possible, move your Colossus back whilst this is all going on. And there we go. Look at that. We do have the corruptors on the way, and the Zealots here didn't do a whole lot. Only tried to take out this Spire, but not getting that at all. And those corruptors will be used for those broodlords. And meanwhile, we do have a bit of an engagement in the middle of the map. Force fields do go down, zoning out a lot of those infestors, but neuroparasites do rain down on these Colossus. So this is looking rather precarious for Mr. mouzMaNa, as these roaches getting in good positions to be able to do quite a bit of damage. And look at all these Colossus ripping apart his opponent's Colossus. Very, very... Oh, neuroparasite, you are very interesting indeed. We do have Templar Archives on the way now, so mouzMaNa is trying to take the precautionary measures in order to be able to deal with these infestors in the later stages of the game. We do have 24 roaches coming out as well as some corruptors here. Going to be able to take out this Colossus very, very handily. But meanwhile, behind this, we have an expansion going down for Mana, claiming his 4th, but Stephano claiming a 5th and 6th base up to the top here. As we do have Psystorm on the way. A few High Templars. Where are they warping in? Somewhere. There we go. So once that Psystorm comes out, he's going to be in a good position to be able to hold off his opponent. But right now, Mana is in a bit of a precarious position, to say the least. And I've said that many a time already today, but indeed, this is a precarious position. M.Stephano right now is doing a very, very good job of holding his opponent at bay and getting a great economy up behind it. These roaches not going to be able to do much, but just delaying in order to be able to get his broodlords out in a nice position. Maybe going to be exploiting this high-low ground position here. We'll have to see. And meanwhile, we do have a little bit of a counter-attack. Going to be going for these Zerglings into this expansion. Cannon's not going to be done yet, but actually going to be able to kill off a lot of these probes. These 2 Zealots won't be able to do much at all. So it looks like... Again, do have, oh my god, adrenal glands on the way for Zerglings. Looks like these broodlords are getting into a good position. Roach is going to start raining down terror on this Protoss ball. And this is looking a bit scary for Mana right now, as this is a pretty strong force to go up against. So many broodlords. He has that blink out in order to be able to kind of get into a good position to be able to counter them. But will he be able to deal with it? That is a lot of broodlords right now. We do have +1 weapons on the way, +3 range coming out for those roaches right now. These broodlords are in a fantastic position just over this position, but again, a big blink in does try to do as much damage as possible. Big storms go down on all those roaches, and a lot of these Colossus are here to be able to try and soak up as many of these broodlings as possible. And once again, blinking in, trying to take out as many of these as possible. But I actually think he doesn't have vision of this right now. Oh, he does just have vision of one. The other one is just slightly away. He does have Morphin and Archon now. These Stalkers will be able to barely clean this up. But behind it, Mana, well, they both have a pretty damn good economy going right now. Let's just go to the unit counting station as well. 100 drones for Stephano right now. Oh my god. To the 78 probes of Mana. 100 drones? What is going on? That is ridiculous. So you can infer from that, guys, that having 100 drones is... You're going to have a great economy behind it and being able to replenish very fast as well. However, your army is going to be significantly weaker, and going up against a Protoss Death Ball can be very, very hard to do. So that will be a little bit of a tricky spot for Stephano to be in the later stages of the game. If it does come down to those kinds of army trade situations, you have +3 weapons just going to be finishing up for Mana now. Going to be able to catch some broodlords out of position, which is a very, very nice pickup indeed. We'll be able to blink back from these. Fungal growth does not catch them. We do have charge on the way as well, so looking to sink a lot of his minerals later on in the game, potentially into those zealots if he so needs. So what will happen? Mana now just able to claim this 4th base. Really nice defense here right now for these 4-5 cannons. So pivotal in the defense if anything comes along. And Protoss players, I've got to say it, guys, Protoss players are pretty greedy. So ultimately, if a Protoss player kind of expands, chances are they're not going to make cannons, which can be very, very irritating indeed. And look at this. This charge actually going to be able to help this potential harass so much here. Getting these zealots in good positions in order to be able to push into these bases. But whoa, that is a lot of defense. 5 spine crawlers in arbitrary positions, potentially, if it's never harassed. But again, it's taking those precautions that matter. And Stephano is definitely one of those players, an absolute ladder monster, and I'm really, really excited to see what he's going to do at the IPL, as he is a force to be reckoned with. Oh my god, so look at that, 207 of 200 now, mouzMaNa, making a lot of spine crawlers, I think, and then cancelling them in order to be able to kind of overproduce, which is very, very cool to see. You do see that a lot in these kind of late game scenarios for Zerg, and it can really pay dividends. If you've got so many minerals saved up, why not put 15 of your drones into spine crawlers, make a load of, I don't know, lings or roaches, and then kind of be over in supply. So I'm just waiting to see a 300 of 200 Zerg army later on in the life of StarCraft. That would be very, very cool to see. And look at this, Mana trying to establish a huge base up to the north here. Meanwhile, they're going to be blinking into the middle here, trying to take out as many of these Broodlords as possible. Colossus doing a good job in the back. And look, all the roaches have to focus down these Stalkers as quickly as possible. mouzMaNa's army, though, does hold here, as he is doing a very, very good job indeed. So many more Stalkers actually warping in right now for Mana, but Stephano, again, I've got to say, a really, really strong Zerg. He knows exactly what he needs to do in these positions. Does have tunneling claws on the way, so maybe a little bit of roach harassment may come at any time soon. These Stalkers trying to get in good positions. Meanwhile, though, up to the north, we do have these Zealots trying to wail away at these spines, and they will potentially kill them all, as Zealots are not doing too bad in order to be able to soak up this damage. Oh my god, all the Stalkers going to be blinking in once again, taking out as many of these Broodlords as possible. Roach is now forfeit, but will potentially burrow them. Will he burrow them? I don't think he will. And some Roaches did clean up the Zealots up to the north here, so this is a pretty close game right now. mouzMaNa constantly ahead. I'm surprised we haven't seen another expansion out of him, as he is one to just go for crazy, crazy amounts of expansions. Going to be charging in here now with these Zealots, once again in order to be able to harass this base up to the north. Just using these bases right now for gas, which is very, very cool to see. Zerg, ultimately a race very, very reliant on that gas, so really needs it out as much as possible. Meanwhile, we do have a bit of an observe action going on over here. Not too much to see at all. Blink Stalkers becoming a very, very nice transition for the later stages of the game as a Protoss player. Always nice to get those Blink Stalkers out. They can, if you've got superb micro, you can, whoa, those Broodlings, where are you going? As they do decide to go back. And by the way, guys, if you haven't seen the SC2 Reporter, I believe it's called, you should really see that, because that will make you think about Broodlings differently forever. So right now we do have these two robo facilities out for Mana. Not going to be using those just yet. Sticking to this very, very heavy Stalker count. And do have, oh, finally these Roaches find this pylon up to the north. So he is going to be in Happy Town, taking out that harassing pylon. And again, as Protoss, always very, very nice to be able to throw those here, there, and everywhere. These three Roaches have been patrolling back and forth between these two bases forever, but not actually seen this base here at the rocks. So that sucks a bit for them. They're not doing their job as properly as they should be doing. One Stalker will die, as these Roaches will kill it off. 2 Warp Prisms in production, ladies and gentlemen. Holy moly. So it looks like mouzMaNa are going to be going for a little bit of harassment here, there, and everywhere. Very nice to see. And we do have 6 more gateways in production. Where are they? Oh, in the mineral line of this base. But hold the phone, a bit of an engagement here. That is so many Broodlords. Big Storm goes down, but actually great micro from Stephano, able to move out of that. Blinking in once again, trying to take out as many of these Broodlords as possible. Infested Terrans do go down, but they're not going to be able to hold steady against this crazy, crazy assault of Stalkers and Colossus. And these Broodlords will end up dying potentially. Oh my god, it's so close. The Stalker count being whittled down very, very close. And the last Broodlord does survive. What on earth just happened? Gravatic Drive on the way. We do have a bit of a Warp Prism harassment going off potentially here. Mana not going to be using that just yet. Stalkers blinking in once again, trying to take out as many of these Broodlords as possible. Trying to take out those key units in order to be able to deal with the Zerg army, and now once again reinforcing with Roaches here. Roaches so good once you can mass them up as quickly as you can do. Do have another Warp Prism up to the north here, but not going to be doing too much right now. This Warp Prism not doing anything either during these engagements. Moving back as quickly as possible, saving that Colossus, which is very, very vital in these positions. And indeed, he really should have been. He should have had the feedbacks for those infestors, but did not. So now these Stalkers probably going to be able to clean up things here with the reinforcement of these cannons, able to do quite a bit of damage. Meanwhile, though, some Zealots going to be moving into the main, trying to find as much tech as possible. Going to be running in here, trying to focus down this Greater Spire that he's already taken down partially. And it looks like potentially this Greater Spire is going to go down. Oh, that was so close! The Greater Spire does go down, and 2 Roaches burrowed up to the north here. These Stalkers will be able to handle with those pretty handily, and looks like we're going to have some more warp-ins here. mouzMaNa keeping on top of the multi-pronged harass here. Going to be trying warping in here, there, and everywhere. Going to be killing off quite a few of these Roaches. Not micro Roaches, do not deal very well with the Zealots, and actually 3-3 on these Zealots right now. Only 1-3 on these Roaches, so that is going to be very, very bad indeed. Meanwhile, Roach is moving up to the north here, trying to get a little bit of a counter-attack off on this base that has gone up. Right now, Stephano wants to limit his opponent to his income. He really wants to take out these new bases. He doesn't really care about the old bases. He wants to just figure out what is going on here, there, and everywhere. Does have an Ultralisk Cavern already down. Chitinous Plating is on the way. 9 Infestors are on the way as well. These Roaches trying to find any kind of damage they can do. I wouldn't be surprised if he just came in here, tried to focus down the Nexus, but as you can see, he is actually going to be going for all the Stalkers right now. And these Roaches and Colossus, the Roaches even, will die. So we do have a Dark Shrine on the way. More Roaches going to be coming up here, trying to do as much harass as possible. But it looks like they are sacrificed right now. And once again, you know, not too bad creep spread here by M.Stephano. But 30 minutes into the game, they could be a little bit better. Although, you know, M.Stephano's pretty good, guys. Let's not beat around the bush here. So we do have 10 Ultralisks, 13 Ultralisks in production right now. Oh my god, that chitinous plating and that +2 armor can be very, very pivotal against these guys that attack fast like the Stalkers, but deal a little bit less damage than you would find on, say, the Colossus with the big AoE power. So this is going to be very interesting indeed. Lot of High Templars in this mix, so he can lay down the feedbacks wherever he wants to. Do have 4 DTs going to be warping in here, and ultimately DTs take out units very, very fast, buildings very fast as well. So going to be moving in, taking out that Spore Crawler. That's the only sign of detection right now here, and look at that. But at the same time, attack to the north, trying to take out this base as quickly as possible. Really nice multi-pronged harass here, as does pull back for now, as he did see this army coming in with this Observer, trying to blink in, taking out as many of these Infestors as possible. Meanwhile, to the south, the Ultralisk Cavern has died, so he's not going to be able to produce any more Ultralisks just for now. Immortal production has begun, so great use of tech switching here for mana, and big, huge storms, huge feedbacks land on all of this army. Oh my god. mouzMaNa is in a great position, going to be getting out a few more Archons. So many Zealots actually warping in here in the main. Maybe he wants to focus down this hive, but we do have another Ultralisk Cavern on the way. Where is that Ultralisk Cavern? Where on earth is that Ultralisk Cavern? At the same time, these Colossus trying to hold as steady as they can against these Ultralisks. Will be taken down eventually, though. So many Zerglings going to be reinforcing and streaming in from each side here, taking out as much of this as possible. Oh my god, looks like these Colossus will actually finally go down. Where is this Ultralisk Cavern? I can't see it for the life of me. I'm going to find you, Ultralisk Cavern. No, it doesn't matter. Anyway, there is an Ultralisk Cavern warping in. Warping in, yeah, that'd be awesome. So, hatchery going down here to the south here. So, the 7th base going up for M.Stephano. 7th base going up for Mana as well. So, both players keeping up very, very nicely on the economy. Very, very even right now. Let's go back to that drone count. And 84 drones to 89 probes here. Wow, that is a lot of probes for the Protoss. So, he's going to be okay. Okay-dokay. As his lone Zealot down here will chill out for now. This Observer playing a very, very nice role in able to counter a lot of the army of his opponent. So many drones coming out here now. Where are they going? Oh, they're going down to this expansion down here. Does he actually see this? He must see this with this Zealot. Indeed he does. These DTs have been ripping apart this entire base for so long. I'm sorry I've neglected them for so long, but indeed doing so much damage. Going to be able to take out the Hive right now. I mean, he already has all his tech out, so that's not going to be too much of a problem for Stephano right now. But limiting that lava count can prove very pivotal in the later stages, so maybe that will come into play. Meanwhile, looks like Mana here trying to pressure the 7th. Again, he is in the mindset of he wants to limit his opponent's economy, really wants to keep that down as much as possible, and indeed the hatchery does fall. So now those Immortals in this position against Ultralisk compositions are going to be absolutely fantastic. Storms do go down, not too bad storms at all. Ultralisks soak that quite nicely, but ultimately every little bit of damage will count at this point. The The Immortals, oh my god, doing so much damage, and surprisingly the Zealots doing pretty well as well. And now so many Stalkers warping in next to these Ultralists fleeing for their lives, but going the wrong way, walking into those Stalkers almost. And now Stephano is in a bit of an odd position. This is absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so these Stalkers will be able to take this down. By the looks of things, big Fungals do go down, so they'll be held in place just for now. And these Ultralists are actually doing quite a lot of damage. Great splash damage goes off on those Stalkers, and now these reinforcing Immortals will be able to clean this up just barely. And these Infestors very, very wisely pulling those back. They would have been very, very forfeit indeed in order to be able to... they would have been forfeit, as they don't have much to do if they don't have energy. It's like High Templars. Like, whenever you see like custom games with High Templars, they've always got this like shooty like action that they can do, and it's like, wow, that's cool. But then they can't do that in the game, so it's like, nah. But spellcasters indeed in this game are really, really pivotal. So it's really nice to have spellcasters in here. So indeed, that base has been taken out right now. Mana is looking to put on the pressure once again. Going to be moving in here in order to be able to take out this base. The Hive finally does fall, and Stephano now very, very far down on supply. Once again, let's just go to the unit scouting station. Oh my god, such a deficit in terms of army composition. And probe count, 99 probes. What on earth, Mana? You are an absolute macro beast, as this game has been absolutely crazy to say the least. So, what is going on? And guys, just in chat, what would you like to see next? Would you like to see another game from Mana, or would you like to see another game from Morrow? Just say Mana or Morrow. I'll take a general consensus, kind of numbers from that. So, I've got 5 replays to show you today, so hopefully it should be cool, Looks like Stephano is going to be moving out here once again, trying to make something happen. Very, very far down on supply, though, so he is taking a lot of damage here right now. As, oh my god, big storms do go down once again. Huge feedbacks! Wow, that is changed so very nicely. So, oh my god, these Colossus will be able to deal with that. And GG, ladies and gentlemen.